primary ignition.
Welcome to Unlimited Power. My name is D-Rod, and I'm going to give you my guide to building an Emperor Palpatine deck at your local pre-release or sealed event for Star Wars Unlimited, the trading card game's first set, Spark of Rebellion. Let's take a look at what Emperor Palpatine does and how you can build a deck that works with his abilities. So first thing, we got to acknowledge the elephant in the room, and that is the Emperor Palpatine cost the most to deploy of all the current leaders in this game. You need 8 resources to deploy Palpatine, which means you better be playing some cards that are going to get you there. Luckily, Palpatine is green, and green has the most cards so far that allow you to ramp up your resources quicker than your opponents, and hopefully to get 8 resources within, a couple of turns early. So with Emperor Palpatine, he comes out, he gets deployed when you have 8, and he's a 4/10. Meaning he has 4 attack and 10 health, one of the highest healths in the game among leaders and units. When you deploy Palpatine, you can take control of a damaged non-leader unit. So this means not only do you want to be ramping with your deck, you want to be making sure you're leaving damaged units in play, whether you're damaging them yourself or maybe they're taking damage from some of your Sentinel units. When you attack with Palpatine, you may defeat a friendly unit, and if you do, deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. That's right. Palpatine wants to defeat any of the units under him so that way he can achieve his own goals of unlimited power. Now, when Palpatine is not in play, his ability is an action ability that costs you 1 resource. You can exhaust Palpatine to, again, defeat a friendly unit, deal 1 damage to a unit, and draw a card. Now, this is going to help you be successful when you deploy Palpatine. A damaged unit's going to be there for you to take control of, which is going to be important, and drawing cards is hopefully going to give you the steam you need to continue running this engine. Let's take a look at some of the cards within the leadership aspect that I think will help you get there. Now, these cards are going to be commons and uncommons because you're going to find majority of them in your packs. So your rares and legendaries aren't going to be on this list, but these kind of cards are going to give you the consistency you need to play some of those cards along with Palpatine. First things first, we're going to take a look at one of my favorite cards in this game, Overwhelming Barrage. The ability to give a friendly unit +2/+2 is already good. But when you can give that unit +2/+2 and then deal damage equal to its power divided as you choose among any number of units, well, that's just a card that's going to get you where you need to be. And that's going to be ending stalemates with your opponent or getting you ahead. Not only can you Overwhelming Barrage your opponent's units, you can hit some of yours that you may need to damage, i.e. Super Laser Technician here. Now, Super Laser Technician's a great card because you can damage it with Palpatine and draw a card, and he becomes a resource immediately after. This is going to give you the ability to play Palpatine 1 or 2 turns earlier than you expected. Lastly is Admiral Piet. With a card like Palpatine, you are going to be ramping up to some bigger units. Piet's going to make those units a much stronger threat. Imagine playing an ATST and it immediately readies when it hits play and can attack one of your opponents. Or you play a large Star Destroyer that costs 6, 7, 8, 9. Can I finish? 10? Either way, you're going to be playing some of those bigger cards, and Piet's going to really be a threat on the board. Now, he may not last very long as your opponent knows you're playing Palpatine and Admiral Piet's dangerous, but it takes away some of the threat from some other cards that you may want to have on the field. Let's look at the villain aspect. Now, you need to buy yourself some time, so Cell Block Guard is going to be a great Sentinel unit to add. TIE Fighter here is just a low-cost unit that's going to put a little bit of threat on the board. It's also an okay card for you to kill. Yes, it can only do 2 damage. It can die very easily, so you're okay letting it hit maybe once or twice and killing it yourself to draw a card. Lastly is Maximum Firepower. With Emperor Palpatine being an Imperial unit, you're probably going to play other Imperial units with him. This turns Emperor Palpatine into a target for firepower, so you can deal some damage, and hopefully you'll have another Imperial unit, so you can have a combined damage to go around. In the command aspect itself, you're going to need to play the resupply event. You can put it into play as a resource after you play it. Again, you want to get Palpatine out soon, and resupply is going to help you do that. Agent Callus is a great Imperial unit who not only has the ambush ability to take out a unit when it hits play, but anytime a unique unit's defeated, you may draw a card. Card draw is important for Palpatine. It's not just about ramping up, it's about having cards in your hand to put down. So you don't want to be getting to Palpatine and only have 0 or 1 card left. And lastly is Patrol V-Wing. It's a 1/1 space unit that does draw a card when you play it. And you're okay killing it. If you kill it, it drew you 2 cards and it cost you 3 resources. That's a good value. Let's move on to the aggression aspect. With here, we're going to see some of your typical red aggression cards. Ruthless Raider's a great one because it can do 4 damage on entry and when it's defeated. So you're okay if it dies or if you have to kill it yourself because it's already doing what it needed to do. With a card like Admiral Piet, it can immediately ready itself and attack a unit in play with that ambush ability. Now, Imperial Interceptor is another great one because it does have low health, but it deals damage as soon as it enters play to space units. And lastly, Open Fire. Dealing 4 damage to a unit's not only going to buy you some time if they have low health, it's going to immediately damage something that's a big threat and that you can take with Emperor Palpatine. Again, when you deploy Palpatine, he needs to find a damage unit to have a very max value of that card. When it comes to blue, we're looking at mostly blue-black cards that really work for Palpatine. One's Inferno 4. Now this card just seems to be a staple uncommon in many decks because it's going to allow you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck and decide if you need to keep them or put them on the bottom. It does this when it's on play, when it's played, and when it's defeated. So it's a great card to put in there and making sure you're getting the cards you need to get Palpatine out quick. Power of the Dark Side is going to remove any leader, especially your opponent's Emperor Palpatine, with that 10 health, or Thrawn also sitting there with 7, Tarkin sitting there with 7. There's a lot of units out there that are just really tough, but if they only have 1, Power of the Dark Side just makes it a fair game. Lastly is Takedown. Defeat a unit with 5 HP or less. You could play a lot of other blue cards here, but this one again is going to do what you need it to do, and it's going to keep the board clear of a lot of aggressive decks or low resource cost units. So playing Takedown, I definitely advise over some other ones like Vanquish. It can also deal with leaders where Vanquish cannot. Lastly is going to be Cunning Yellow Aspect. With 7th Fleet Defender always taking the charge here, it's a 3-cost unit with shield and a 3/2. Once it loses its shield, you know it's going to be one of those cards that you can kill yourself. That 2 health isn't going to make it really strong against most attacks, so you probably got 1 or 2 hits out of it, and now you can draw a card from it. Mining Guild TIE Fighter is another low-cost unit that you don't really want to kill because it can draw you cards. If you're struggling in more in that mid to late game strategy that Palpatine forces you into, you are going to need to make sure you're refreshing your hand. So pay the 2 and draw a card and be a little bit ahead of your opponent. Lastly is No Good to Me Dead, an uncommon that buys you some time and is especially great to play on your opponent's leaders that you may not have the answer for right now, but will later. Now, imagine damaging a unit, playing No Good to Me Dead, buying yourself some more time until Palpatine comes in and takes away that unit. There's some great strategies here, and I hope these help you out at your future pre-release or sealed event. I hope it's great. Like and comment. If you're having a good time playing some of these at your events, I want to hear about it, and may the Force be with you.